Good afternoon, class. This is Miss Reed for Week 2 discussion, EN 201. And last week, you all were charged with 3 readings, Panopticism, Through the Looking Glass, and Visual Pleasures. We briefly discussed these in class. On this week, we will be reading in class The Collector of Treasures. It was very important for you all to take notes and understand last week's readings because they are very closely paired to the short story we're going to read in class. Now, just to kind of give you a heads up, The Collector of Treasures is written by Bessie Head, an African author who looks at the dynamics of men and women. The main character is Dekeledy, and she has a husband by the name of Garasago, and she has 2 neighbors, Penelope and Paul Sobolo. The story unravels through the eyes of Dekeledy in her experiences with her husband and her married next-door neighbors. Now, we're looking at 2 types of men, 2 archetypes, the really good man or kind of the evil guy. Those in particular, we're looking at those men who like sex and who mistreat women and use them only for sexual pleasure, and then the other type of men who embrace women, embrace their power, and in a sense they're the liberated man because they allow women to be whoever they are, and they operate in the world together instead of women being a separate entity. Nonetheless, Garasago feels that women should only be used at the disposal of men. There within, Paul Sobolo shows that women are very intricate parts of the community. They should be treated with respect, care, and love, and in return, the man gets what he wants. Not only does he get a safe and sound family, but he also gets a community that is willing to work together. So, some important terms that you all looked at last week that we will look at this week with The Collector of Treasures is the ideal, of course, of the phallocratic society. And we know that the phallus has to do with the idea of man being in control. We will look at a very misfortunate deed that happens to Dekeledy as she is trying to go against the idea of the phallocratic society. In addition to that, we look a little bit at whether or not this is a feminist text. Some critics believe it is. Some say it don't. The author herself stated that it wasn't really a stab at feminism, so to speak, but it was just her perspective on the relationships of men and women in Africa. Nonetheless, I want to look at the idea of village and community. Have we gotten away from those norms in modern day society? Is American society that much different from African society? What are the parallels as well as the differences? These are some of the ideas that I want us to look at when we read the story and we look at visual pleasures. And then we also take into consideration Through the Looking Glass, because those pieces of text really kind of outline a lot of works, especially from the hands of female writers, when we're looking at how men are viewed in society. A lot of times how they're written, not only in pieces of fiction, but even in film, and even in some their biographical or autobiographical accounts. So, with that being said, you all should have looked at the plot diagram piece that was attached to last week's works. I should have added a Microsoft Word document where it explained and defined and showed you how to plot diagram. One of your assignments for week 1 was to take your favorite book or movie and plot diagram it. Okay? We're going to look at some of that in class as well. You are also charged this week with reading My Man Bovain and Survivor Type. Both those short stories you should have been able to find online. I had the links located in week 1 for you to be able to read those, okay? You also had 2 online quizzes that you must take by Wednesday by 4 o'clock. In class, you will have a writing component that goes with those. Very simple, not hard at all. If you have read both of those pieces of literature, you should do just fine. Okay, so I just only wanted to just kind of get you prepared, get your thinking caps, get your mind kind of flowing, because Collector of Treasures is one of my most loved short stories. Gives you just kind of an intricate look at how different cultures and societies look at the relationships of men and women, and also how we can apply some things that we read. So that's all for this week. See you in class.